7:07 p.m. on August 7th, 2014. Thank you all for being here. At this time, would you please stand as Richard Fleming leads us in our opening prayer, and remain standing as Nancy Watton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and the Texas flag.
Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together again for a fantastic upcoming year. Please continue to bless our school district as our motto is how to achieve for all students. Continue to bless Frank Shore, absent tonight. Make sure that he has a great speed of recovery. Great pleasure that we pray in your name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one. Please be seated. As a district, we dedicate all of our effort and resources to our goal of high achievement for all students. And this board uses this goal to guide all of our deliberation, decisions, and actions. You will get to see all deliberations, decisions, and actions of the board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in closed session as stipulated in Texas Government Code Section 551, which is commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. These items typically deal with consultation with our attorneys, personnel matters, and real estate. For the record, all board members are here with the exception of Mr. Frank Shore. However, we do constitute a forum and can conduct business on behalf of the school district. And with that, we will move on to agenda item 2, recognition of special guest and announcement. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Members of the board, as you know, we reserve this time every board meeting to recognize our teachers and other staff. Since this is the first meeting back and our teachers aren't back yet, we will begin the VIP recognitions at our next meeting. But we do have a recognition tonight that we want to, for the audience as well as for the Board of Trustees to know, is that our Business Services Department does an outstanding job. Unfortunately, they haven't found a way to print new money, but they have found a way to make sure we know what money we do have and where it's going. And so we are very fortunate that we have a strong system of accounting and purchasing that helps us continue to be a well-functioning business end of our school district. And we have some awards tonight. We want to recognize some special people, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hyatt.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. If you and Mr. Good will come to the front, I'd like to ask Tanya Tillman, Steve Franks, and Scott Roderick to join you at the front of the boardroom. As we approach the end of our budget year, in fact, our next meeting that we have is when we'll bring to the board our final presentation and ask the board's consideration to adopt our budget. It's appropriate that tonight we're honoring the Budget and Finance Department for receiving recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association, or GFOA, and the Association of School Business Officials, or ASBO, for excellence in budget presentation. GFOA represents public finance officers across the United States and Canada. Its mission is to enhance and promote the professional management of governmental financial resources. GFOA members include states, cities, and counties, as well as school districts. The Association of School Business Officials is a similar organization that is specifically oriented to school districts and whose mission is to promote the highest standards of school district management. Both of these national organizations have programs whereby school district budget documents are evaluated based on stringent criteria to determine whether they meet guidelines that are of the highest quality. The ultimate goal of these evaluation programs is to validate that budget documents are developed in a consistent manner to provide local governing bodies and taxpayers with valuable information they need to make difficult decisions. Carrollton-Farmers branch received recognition from both of these organizations for their 2013-14 budget documents. Only 19 school districts in Texas received the awards from GFOA, and this makes 12 years in a row that we've received these awards. As we know, school finances and budgets in Texas have been difficult to manage for many years. And these awards don't solve any of those problems. They don't fix our budget problems. They don't even improve our budget problems. But what the awards do indicate is that given the circumstances Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD has, that the best possible information is available to use to make decisions for these difficult problems. You may not like the information, but you can be sure it's accurate and clearly communicated. All of the district's finance and accounting departments contribute to the development of our budget document, but we'd like to specifically express our appreciation tonight to Tanya Tillman, Scott Roderick, and Steve Franks for all the work they do for us. On behalf of the district, thank you, Tanya, Scott, and Steve, and we appreciate you.
Yes, Mr. Good, members of the board, we do have one other recognition that I'd like to point out. As many of you know from this past spring, Jerry Charleboy, our executive director of Advanced Academic Services, has decided that she will go on to a new endeavor. It starts with a retirement, but then it usually doesn't stay that way. We know about Jerry, but we haven't had a chance to officially kind of send her off yet, but we will be doing that. We wanted to recognize her tonight, and you'll be seeing less of her, but she's still around for a little bit to help us in transition, as well as we'd like to introduce you to her replacement, which is Miss Catherine Pabst, who we already hired in lieu of Miss Charleboy's notice to us so that we could get things started over this summer. And so we just want, Catherine, will you raise your hand just one more time so they can see you? We want to welcome her aboard, so introduce yourself, and you'll see more of her as well here in the future. So. That's it for recognitions and
Very
announcements.
good. Before we move on to agenda item 3, I'd like to remind the audience that the board encourages comments from our citizens and district employees. Anyone wishing to speak to the board may do so as an individual or as a representative group by filling out the form, Audience for Guests, which is outside the double doors. Please fill out that form and then give it to Ms. Scrivener, who is currently walking in. And with that, don't forget to do that if you'd like to address the board. With that, we'll go on and proceed to agenda item 3, which is report by superintendent. Agenda item A, presentation on student achievement, local accountability, student and community engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Members of the board, this is our first board meeting of the year to present about student achievement to you, and we thought it very appropriate to introduce you to the local accountability system that the last legislative session mandated. We'll say encouraged, but mandated that we have, and it's not a bad thing. It does help us kind of look inside internally of the things that we're doing well, things we want to get better at, which we've been doing all along for a long time, but just kind of makes it formal. So we thought we'd introduce you tonight, that piece of it, and that where we are right now with the local accountability, and then we'll be giving you more accountability information as we proceed throughout the year. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Warnock.
Thank you, Dr. Byrne. All right, we're going to use our new technology tonight. So you'll see the presentation coming. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. We are really excited to share with you about the local accountability system this evening, and we want to start with why. Why do we have local accountability? And then we're going to talk about what it is and how we implemented local accountability in Carrollton-Farmers Branch. In the last legislative session, the state legislature, as part of House Bill 5, intended to provide a more meaningful and robust accountability system to local school districts. And so they set a requirement that school districts would develop a local accountability system internally, and that accountability system would be scored, and then the results shared with the community and then also reported to TEA. As part of the parameters around local accountability, it was truly designed to be a locally developed and reported system. So we, kind of the beauty of it is that we got to be creative. We got to really dig into what we thought would be good measurements for CFB. with parents, business members, community members, and staff all working in partnership to look at some areas that we don't often score in our state accountability system through achievement testing. So you can see the areas here on the screen that we were directed to include as part of our local accountability system: 21st century workforce development, community and parental involvement, digital learning environment, dropout prevention strategies, fine arts, educational programs for gifted and talented students, second language acquisition, wellness, and physical education. So there are very little parameters given, except that we needed to have each campus in our district and the district score with a local task force these different areas. So the process for us in CFB was in the fall, we reviewed the legislation and tried to kind of glean understanding about what the system was going to look like, what the requirements were for us. And then we consulted Region 10, had a consortium of districts that shared ideas. You know, the state was prohibited from giving us guidance on what this should look like, so it really was locally developed, and we shared ideas with neighboring districts. In the fall of 2013, the district leadership drafted different possible measures of what that might look like for each category. And then in January, we met with the District Improvement Council, which is comprised of business, parents, community, staff, and we created a first draft in partnership for the district and for elementary, middle, and high schools. In February, we took those documents to the principals. They reviewed them and gave input. And then we took that input back to the DIC to finalize what this rubric would look like for the local accountability. We gave that final draft to the principals in April, and then they took it back to their campuses and had campus teams of staff, community, and parents to score the campus level rubrics. And then we met in May here in the boardroom with a group of ambassadors, and we reviewed all of the measurements that had been set forth and what data we had as a district around those measurement criteria, and our ambassadors scored the district rubric. And then in June, we reported all of that to TEA. And so tonight, we're going to play a little game for you to understand a little bit more about our accountability. So CFB ISD Jeopardy. So I'll remind you of the rules of Jeopardy, that we have to ask a question. So we're going to frame our answer as a question. Miss Bailey is going to be our caller. So whoever hand is up first, Miss Bailey is watching for that. She's going to call on you. And Miss Smith is going to be our scorekeeper. So we're going to play a little Did You Know? Board members, in your board book, your notebook for tonight's materials, you have some cheat sheets that have the answers hidden within. So if you turn, you have a local accountability in CFB. Yes, Ms. Dr. Burns is welcome to participate. Everybody's welcome to participate. We can keep score in the audience, see how well you can do at the Jeopardy. So if you look here at the local accountability in CFB, we have the why, and we have a little handout about how our process went. And then starting on the highlights page, that's where you're going to find the answers. I think this is going to be very competitive, so we're going to give you all a chance to find your cheat sheets. Sharon, do you know what? On the front page, there's a table of contents that should tell you. We want to make sure, this is good instruction. We want to make sure all of our students have their materials in front of them that they need.
Yep, get your.
Mr. Shackman, are you ready to play? Ms. Klein, we're ready to play?
There you go.
It's in section 2.
Section what?
Oh, section 4.
Oh, okay. Oh, never mind. Don, you're good.
All right, Ms. Watton, are you ready to play? Yes, we're ready to play.
Thanks to
Mr.
Michelle, we
Fleming?
found it.
Okay. Are we ready? All right, Mr. Matthews doesn't need his cheat sheet. Okay, so here we go. Mr. Good, since you're the president, you get to pick first. Which category would you like?
Bright spots for 20.
Bright spots for 20. Improved in all 3 categories: in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, and DAEP.
True. No.
So we're answering in the form of a question.
And that's actually in this document I'm looking at.
What is part of our dropout prevention success?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct, Mr. Shackman. So for 20 points, one of the categories that we looked at in the local accountability was dropout prevention. And so we set as a measure, the DIC, that if we have students in class and learning and not in alternative disciplinary placements, that we will be able to lower our dropout rate. And so that's something we want to celebrate as a district, that we had improved over the year in lowering in-school, out-of-school, and DAEP discretionary placements. So
But my statement was correct.
it was correct, Mr. Good. We can add some points for you. Okay. All right. We'll go back. So, Mr. Shackman, it's your turn. You're on the board. You like-
Growth opportunities for 30.
Okay, growth opportunities for 30. What are 21st century workforce development, second language acquisition, digital learning environment, and dropout prevention strategy?
What are categories that are recognized?
That is correct, Ms. Klein. 30 points, you're in the lead. Okay, all right.
Very good.
So as we scored our rubric, we had some areas that were exemplary and some that were recognized. And so these will be the areas that, as teams, we look at how we can make district improvements. Of course, I want to remind you that campuses at elementary, middle, and high all had different rubrics, and they had different areas of focus. But as a district, this is what we'll be looking at, how we can continue to improve. All right, Ms. Klein, your choice.
Did you know for 20?
Did you know for 20?
I think Mr. Matthews will put this.
Over 1,000.
What is fine arts performances?
That is correct, Ms. Klein. What are fine arts performances open to the public? And this was one of the pieces about the local accountability that really helped shine a light on some things. We set a rubric up thinking, well, every campus has a few performances. As campuses started turning in all of the myriad of opportunities that are open to students and to our community to engage in fine arts, it was overwhelming that 36 campuses had over 1,000 performances in just 1 year. So we thought that was something really to celebrate, and a did you know? All right, Ms. Klein, again.
Did you know for 10?
86% of students in 19 programs.
What are students who attempt career certifications?
That is correct. So Ms. Klein staying in the lead here. This was one of our indicators that we looked at for 21st century workforce development, and set some criteria of how many students do we have that are attempting certifications and earning those certifications. We have 19 different CTE programs, everything from automotive technician to cosmetology, veterinary tech, a multitude of programs, and 86% of our students who are attempting certification pass those certification tests. All right, Ms. Klein.
Did you know for 30?
30. Over 4 million.
What is the third bullet under community and parental involvement? It's the number of connections made.
That is correct. So we had over 4 million connections that our strategic communications department made with community through the website, call outs, newsletters, and social media contacts. So really that strategic communications department working to engage the community, and that was one measure that we chose to look at, the number of contacts. Right. Mr. Shackman.
Bright spots for 30.
Bright spots for 30. Over 1,400 participate in partnerships.
What are the 1,400 businesses, individuals, and organizations that partner with?
That is correct. So Ms. Klein, I think, stays in the lead. Yes,
I was
yes,
feeling
Ms.
threatened.
Klein stays in the lead. So we see that we have many different organizations, groups, and individuals that are working to provide mentorships, financial support, serve as speakers, and also providing career guidance to students in our schools. All right. Ms. Klein,
The last is growth
the last
opportunities for
question. We don't have a double jeopardy.
20. That's
So this is it.
I was holding out for the daily double.
ding, ding.
Okay, so our growth opportunities. Graduation rate for this group of students is between 60 and 64%.
What is the English language learners section of our program?
Yeah, so who are our English language learners? So that is one area. While our overall graduation rate has been increasing, in our graduation rate for English language learners increases, we're still not satisfied with this data, and it's a metric that we want to continue moving. So, all right, our score as a whole, Ms. Smith.
Because we were playing as a team, you all earned 160.
All right.
Thank you, Nancy.
I just couldn't find it.
So at the end of the day, this was our district kind of scorecard that we looked at in the fine arts, wellness and physical education, community and parent involvement, and our educational program for GT students. Our committee that scored the rubric found those at the exemplary. And then in the other categories, we were recognized. We had a lot of learning in this process, as this was the first year that we did this. So we'll be going back this year with our District Improvement Council and staff, looking at the rubric, what needs to be changed and adjusted, what would continue to give us meaningful information. And we learned a lot about our district in this process. One thing we do want to commend the board and thank you that we continue to have discussions as we look at 21st century workforce development in the digital learning environment, that the investment that you've chosen to make in technology is going to have a significant impact in helping us to move forward in those areas. And so we really do want to thank you for that and know that your trust in funding that, we will be putting it to incredible use to continue increasing student achievement. And so that concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Board members, any questions? Yes, Ms. Watton.
Is it true that we had, is it true that we were second in the nation in?
The state of Texas is second in the nation for graduation rate. And
State
so
of
the
Texas.
state of Texas,
Right.
when we look at the 50 states data, the state of Texas is second in the nation. And our data from last year, we were at 91.8%, and we just got our data for this year, we're going to be at 93%. So we continue to improve.
And
It's a real
we're
celebration.
Second only to Iowa, is that right?
I think it's Iowa.
And Iowa's
Yes,
this
Iowa.
big, and we're this big.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Any other question? Hearing none, seeing none, Ms. Warnock, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Before we move on to agenda item 4, I'd like to repeat something I stated previously. The board appreciates audience for guests and uses that as a mechanism for us to receive feedback and input from our constituents. Once again, if you want to address the board, you please fill out the form that's in the box outside the double doors as you walked in and give that completed form to Ms. Scrivener. keeping in mind that comments should pertain to public education issues and be no longer than 3 minutes. Our timekeeper, we will dispense with for the moment.
I have the time. I have it. It's down here.
Ms. Watton has it. Very good. I did not see it. Ms. Watton, this is a 3-minute presentation for anyone who might wish to address the board. Ms. Scrivener, do you have any additional audience for guests in addition to the one I have? Very good. I have one audience for guests, Mr. Doug Erbcheck. And if you would, please identify yourself and where you live.
Well, good evening, President Gu, trustees, Dr. Burns, staff. My name is Doug Herbachik, and I'm a city councilman here in Carrollton. I'm here tonight on behalf of our mayor and city council. And I should let y'all know that I did grow up here in Carrollton and attended CFB schools K through 12. And Coach Matthews here actually put up with me for a couple years right across the street at Dewood Perry. I currently have a son in the school district who's here tonight, and my wife is certainly engaged in public education here in our community. In addition to that, my mother, who's now retired, was also a teacher in the district for 35 years, so we certainly support the mission here. But in Carrollton, when I was growing up, we were a very fast-growing community where we had lots of land to the north. In fact, when I started CFB schools, we only had one high school, and we just kept going further and further north up Josie Lane. Well, that's no longer the case, and we have made a very strategic focus on redevelopment here in Carrollton, Texas. And I can tell you personally that there are 3 key components to that, and that are our schools, our infrastructure, and our parks. We have a lot to do with infrastructure and parks, and frankly, we have a very good story to tell here in Carrollton, Texas. We have very little to do with the schools. This body is in charge of providing that service for our community. And the good news is we have a fantastic story to tell with public education in our community. Having said that, regardless of where we've been in the past, since my time on council, we've done a better job of recognizing students that have very high achievement that live in Carrollton, Texas. And on the city side, I can tell you our standard is very, very high. It's state championships. So for the last couple of years, if you win a state championship and you live in Carrollton, we will recognize you at a city council meeting, and typically the mayor will do a proclamation proclaiming that day for that particular student. I'm very proud of that. It's something that is becoming more and more prevalent. We did it recently with the Creekview mock trial team, and although at Louisville School, the girls soccer team at Hebron High School. So having said that, I didn't think it was enough. This is Texas. My parents grew up in a little town called Roscoe, Texas, where if you win a state championship in anything, they find the largest structure in town, which is typically the water tower, and they paint it up. Well, the likelihood of that happening in Carrollton is none. So we had to come up with something that would work, that would be fair for a city of 130,000 citizens that has 4 high schools. So we've developed a school spirit sign program, and I believe somewhere we have an image that will hopefully come up here in a minute. So beginning in the next couple of weeks, hopefully before school starts, you will see these signs around the city of Carrollton. Basically what we've done is we have taken the attendance boundaries, and each school will have an equal number of signs, which should be 5, and we will put them near the city limits, near the attendance boundaries for each school. So each school will have an equal number, and again, our standard here is pretty high. It starts at a state championship. So we have reached out to the principals of each of the high school, and we're kind of getting some back and forth and working on that. Hopefully we'll have that content back before school starts, and we can get the signs made and get them put up. So still working on that piece, but one of the things in getting this implemented is I committed to our mayor and council that I would come out and brief you on the program. So the FAQs for you guys, I would tell you, is every school has the same number of signs, and the principal decides the content, and at the end of each school year, we'll reach out to each of the principals and ask them if anything needs to be updated. There's absolutely no cost to the school district. We're incurring all the costs. We're very excited about the program, and schools are a critical part of our redevelopment efforts, real critical part of our community, and we have a great story here to tell, and we certainly want to tell it. So outside of any questions, thank you very much for the time, and y'all have a wonderful meeting.
At this time, we will go ahead and move to agenda item 4B, which is our consent agenda. The The consent agenda is a mechanism that we use to approve a number of routine items together on a single vote. And in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the public notice for this meeting includes the list of all consent agenda items. And the board has been provided ample information about these items in advance. Prior to any action taken on the consent agenda, however, the board members may request withdrawal of individual items for clarification or discussion. At this time, board members, are there any items you would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Mr. Good, I'd like to
Yes, sir.
request we remove item 11.
Very good. Item 11
Mr. Good, items number 7.
and 7. Are there any others? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of items 7 and 11? I have a motion by Ms. Klein and a second by Mr. Matthews. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. We will go back to agenda item 11. Consider RFP number 14-06-101-4 for customer service consultant.
Mr.
Shackman.
Good, members of the board, I've spoken with some of you, and we are facing a significant budget challenge here in our district. As we discussed this item, there was some clarification brought to it that it is an item that is in the purview of the existing communications budget that has not been increased, although we haven't seen the numbers for the final budget for 14-15. I'm still struggling with the fact that in light of all of this, in light of the budget challenge, in light of the fact that there is not any dollar amounts on this item, I'm struggling with the fact that we would propose that we approve a basic blank check, even though we've been assured that we'll hear items come back. As long as those items fall under the $50,000 threshold, we'll never see them. And I'm just not convinced, and I've not seen a bit of data that shows us that we're lacking in community service or, service for reaching out to community support. Our district does a tremendous job. We just learned that we had 4 million touches. We are doing a fabulous job. Yes, we can always do more, and customer service is very important. We want to be user-friendly. We want to engage the public. We are doing that with our ambassadors programs and all those other things. And I struggle with, at any level, including money in our budget that could be spent in classrooms on high achievement, which is our goal, on something that is not going to dramatically impact high achievement, even though we can argue that when the community is engaged, yes, there can be increased achievement. But I'm really struggling with this as an item, and I think it is significant that as a board, we make a stand that says high achievement really is our priority, and we can't be spending money in places that aren't in classrooms.
Very good.
Mr. Good, let me address it, and I'll let from accounting interest, but Mr. Shackman, thank you for bringing that question up. We do believe that student achievement is our primary goal, but we also, as a board and a team, decided several years ago that we needed to do it in 4 areas. Continue to get better instructionally with our instructional practice, make our learning environment the best it can, both physically and affectively, be wise with our budget dollars, and engage our community support. So that was the direction that this board gave us to go in. And it's a good strategic plan. It was a strong strategic framework. We believe it's responsible for the data we're achieving. And so we want to keep getting better. I think the board has challenged us, better before cheaper, and keep getting better. And so we feel like that we want to have the options and the resources that we've already budgeted to do that and engage our community still. We use customer service because that's kind of the bidding language out there, but it's really about everything we do. It's about engaging the community through everything we do with PTA. It's about engaging our community through our PTA council, our ambassador program. So it's a strategic decision that this staff has brought to us to say, we've built it in our budget, and we feel like that's a good use of our funds so that we can reach that goal. So I think your question is spot on, and so it deserves some why and clarity behind it. but it really is to make sure that our community knows what a great school system we have. And this board told us, don't keep it a secret anymore. You told us that several years ago. Don't keep it a secret. I think Mr. Abachik's point is spot on too. We want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to let the public know what we're doing. And so I know this board has a lot of confidence in this staff, and I can promise you that we will be using that money very wisely, and we'll know where we're spending it, and you'll know where we're spending it, and we'll be giving you back feedback of whether or not we think there's a return on that investment. If there's not a return on that investment, we'll be the first ones to say we're not going to spend it anymore because it's not giving us what we intended to do. So that's the kind of the conceptual why behind it. Mr. Hyde, if you want to add anything about the accounting piece of that and why this is brought this way, certainly feel free to do so.
Just a minor clarification, and Mr. Chapman is 100% accurate. This is just a pricing document. You're actually just accepting this vendor and the pricing structure, and he's absolutely right. As long as the individual purchases in the future don't exceed $50,000, they won't come back to board action. However, purchases over $25,000 will come back to you to report to you of what we're spending the money on and how we're spending it in the monthly purchasing report. So the board will be apprised of it, and it was pointed out earlier. The concept is we do want you to know what we're doing. We want to be up and straightforward, and if this is the direction that staff administration feels this needs to go, we're bringing it to you for your consideration.
Ms. Watt?
Can I ask a question? I think we desperately need customer service in this district. We are so spread out, and my daughter is in real estate, and she said that so many people don't even know about our achievement. And so I think customer service is primary. But I have a problem with what does it mean when they say consultant? Is it a consultant to the customer service? I couldn't get that from the board.
Yeah.
What that consultant.
Yeah, that great question, Ms. Watton. Ms. Shelley is, of course, heading all that up, so she can give you some a little bit more clarity around the language that we use there.
Sort of. I've been there, done that so many times, surveys and as an employee. And I don't ever see what was done with it. And I'm not sure that I agree with hiring an outside consultant or company to do what you do. You do so well, and your masters do so well. And I think we just need to go forward with that program and not really get somebody from the outside to tell us how to do better. And like I say, the survey of all the employees that we've done many, many times, it's so relative, and it doesn't. I don't ever see, and I've heard many employees say that within my building when I was teaching, that what good was the survey if nothing came out. So I think it's really important that if we are hiring an outside person, that we monitor, that they make sure that we're monitoring from the inside out to make sure that they are doing what they are paid to do. Well, I think one of the things that we really need to concentrate on this year is working with our city council, like Doug said, and meeting with them and getting the word out to those people that they can spread the word in Farmers Branch and Carrollton and Irving, and everywhere else that we, and even, God forbid, we should together with Dallas, but if we could get a few of them from that board, I really do think that we need to communicate with them better and let them know. There's many of our councils don't even know the wonderful.
We agree with you, and we definitely want to work more closely with all of our city councils and our city leaders.
Yeah, Ms. Whiten, you mentioned a lot of good points, and I think as we know, 20, 25 years ago, public school had a different look. It was the only game in town. You want to go to school, you either chose private or public, and now we compete against a whole new market. Okay, from virtual schools to charter schools, private schools are still there, et cetera. So, if we want to continue to have, the students that we want in our district to come to our schools, we have got to do a good job of selling and promoting it to our cities and everything else. And so it's a new ball game in public schools. It's not your father's Oldsmobile anymore. I mean, it's completely different, and we have to be very strategic in making sure that the public knows this is the best choice. Make this choice and come to CFB. And so all school districts are forced to kind of look at this in a different way now, since we don't have the monopoly on it anymore.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Burns makes an excellent point, although I'm not sure we're having that difficult a time getting students into our district. We certainly want to be competitive in the marketplace. I agree with Ms. Watton, however. It seems to me, and Angela, your department does a fabulous job, and kudos to all of your staff. Do we really need to spend this money? And then two basic questions. One, you mentioned the district climate survey. Is that the $60,000 piece that is in there? And then the second question really is another concern, because I hear you talking about training. We already pull teachers and principals and people from campuses so many times during the year. I'd hate to see us lose additional academic time, and another hidden cost of this would be paying subs if we're pulling people to train. So again, I'm just struggling with that we would spend additional resources in our new budget that's already so tight when we have an excellent program that is functioning and achieving great things in this area.
We do already have this allocated in the budget for next year in my department, the climate survey. And then the training that we've done, I'll be honest with you, has been our frontline staff. So our secretaries and our clerks and our student nutrition people. Normally we have not in many, many, many years trained them and given them the tools to, we teach them how to use maybe a computer or how to use our new system, but we don't teach them how to build relationships and how to interact. And that's what the training is for. So it's for our secretaries and our clerks. It is not necessarily for our teachers or principals. So what we've done this year is we have brought in all of our secretaries and all of our clerks, student nutrition, and HR staff, our after the bell staff that normally doesn't receive that kind of training, and we've allowed them to get some tips on how do you deal with sometimes if the situation isn't going right, if there's an angry parent, how do you make people feel comfortable and welcome? Some basic skills that they may not have, honestly. How do you answer a phone correctly? Some of those types of things. And that's really what the training and the consultants have done for us, is they've allowed, have led part of that training for us.
Board members, any other questions? If I may, let me make a clarification here so we understand what this action item is. It's for the approval of only establishing a relationship with a specific company that we may or may not utilize to provide services. And there's no funds being allocated specifically for this agenda item. Any funds that are expended are already contained within Ms. Shelley's budget. So we're not approving any dollars at all. Just the opportunity for the school district to be able to utilize this company if her department decides they would like to. That's all we're voting. So
I was just going to say, I think that this area, Ms. Shelley's area, does a job, but this is kind of niche. Unlike our previous open speaker whose mother was a teacher and Ms. Watten's family, I think a lot of people do enter into our district 15 years ago. You have that choice now, and you walk in and you need to feel welcome and it feel right because you're trusting your most precious resources, your offspring, to the district, and it's really something that most people care about more than about anything else. And I think I've had, an instance where, say, someone never returned a phone call, or, there's certain practices of responding to email now that may or may not be happening. I think our principals can build stronger campuses by having this feedback. And it's something that a lot of the businesses do, but as a school district, we didn't see the need previously, but now in this more competitive network, which, I spoke to our neighborhood group and you helped me prepare a presentation for them on why choose public schools. And it's something that a lot of people are hesitant. If you have a 4-year-old, you're scared because you hear all these things and you don't know. So how do you judge and how do you, give, in prior days, it was kind of a no-brainer, but now it's a lot more selective and people are more sensitive. So I feel like this niche specialty area is something that if Ms. Shelley's group, Dr. Burns, tell us they need it to help augment their existing skills, this is like trying to specialize in something that isn't your forte. Like for me, bridge design, you find someone that does this well and can help you look in the mirror and improve yourself, which I think that's how we're going to attract the population, because like I said, there's families with young kids in my neighborhood that are trying to choose, but they care so much, and we all cared, but they have those broader options and they can choose whatever they want, and it's not a matter of the money or.
any other comments, board members? If not, I need a motion regarding this agenda item. Ms. Klein.
I would move approval based on the information Shelley shared about not more than what is in her current budget this year that we'll be reviewing.
Let me restate that. Agenda item 4B11, which is consider this RFP for customer service consultant. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Matthews. All of those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? We have 2 opposed and 1 abstention.
No,
Did I
3
say?
or 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see. Let me restate that. There were 4 for approval of this and 2 opposed. Ms. Watton, Mr. Shackman. That is a majority, and therefore this item passes. Thank you. Agenda item 4B7, consider all matters related to wealth equalization, including executing an agreement for the purchase of attendance credit.
Yes, Mr. Good, board, wanted to know, have explained the components of my attendance, what are the parameters, the overall goal.
Mr. Hyatt is our resident expert.
I'd actually say that Ms. Tillman's the expert.
If
Tanya,
she's the real expert.
Just check me if how close I am to accurate. It's under Chapter 41 of the Education Code. Districts with certain high wealth property values are required to share their excess wealth with less fortunate districts. And there's 5 options in which to do that. These 5 options are listed, and the option this district chooses is to purchase attendance credits from the state. We're in the unique position of being high enough wealth that we're classified as Chapter 41, but there's another threshold that actually you have to cross before you actually have to pay the money to the state. So we're required to establish a method, even though we actually won't actually execute. We won't reach the threshold where we have to actually have to pay it. There's as values and adjust and settle up, I guess theoretically possible that by the end of the year that could change. But in all practicality, it does not change. We're in it. There's a word for it, like the gap area, high enough to be classified as Chapter 41, but not high enough to actually pay. It really stems from evolution of the law. When they changed that gap structure of funding, they never changed the Chapter 41 election process. We're required by law to make the election, but not required by law to make the payment. Totally confused. Am I close to accurate?
Went in a roundabout way, yes.
So the good news is you're giving us you're telling us to choose a way to share wealth by paying purchasing attendance credit from the state, but we don't have to do it.
So we're making a motion
To agree to authorize the board and secretary and superintendent to execute Chapter 41 documents, including the attached agreement for purchase attendance.
Right, would be safe to say it's really a compliance issue.
It is
more than it is an actual issue to be done.
It is just a statutory compliance issue that really does not change anything that we do, nor does it cost us any money.
Thank you for your explanation. I'd like to make a motion we approve 4B11.
I have a motion.
Second.
Excuse
And
me,
I have
4B7.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4C, consider recommendation for elementary school principal. Dr. Burns.
Good members of the board, as you remember from the note, we had a late resignation in June after our June meeting for one of our elementary principals, and so fortunately for us, our HR department had done such a great job of selecting and completing that process that we actually had several good candidates. We were able to move quickly, and so tonight we're going to bring you our recommendation for elementary principal. The assignment will be complementary, but that's the assignment. The position you're approving is for elementary principal, and our recommendation is Ms. Sean Campbell. Ms. Campbell, would you stand up? Ms. Campbell's been with us 14 years. She's been a math specialist and a teacher, assistant principal. I think she's done about everything we've asked her to do, and she's done it well. And so we are pleased to bring to you tonight Mr. Sean Campbell as our recommendation.
Board members, do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Ms. Watt, thank you very much. All those in favor, please signify by hand. That is unanimous. Now you can. Agenda item 4D, consider approval of board meeting and board work study session schedule for 2014 through 2015. Dr. Burns.
Mr. Good, members of the board, you've seen that schedule. It's pretty consistent with our meeting schedules and work studies from the past. There's a little slight kind of difference from the past. We normally meet the first Thursday, but there's a couple of months where that doesn't really warrant itself to do, so that meeting schedule is altered that way, as well as we took a survey at the end of the year, and the board felt like less is more, and so we have 4 work studies that we're going to concentrate on this year instead of 6, so those dates are in there. And then one other one I want to make sure you know is that our required team of 8 training, due to other events, we're going to do that on a Wednesday, so I want to make sure that you saw that on the calendar, and it's a Wednesday date, as in the past it's been a Thursday date. So if that's okay with everybody, we wanted to make you aware of that, and so you'll have that planned accordingly.
Board members, you do have in your packet all of those dates specified. Are there any?
It should be the 15th. Yes. You have a different calendar. The calendar that's in the board book, I believe, is the 15th. Is it not, Ms. Scribner? Okay. You may have an old.
Yeah, it's in
calendar.
the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that you're approving tonight. We originally drafted that with the old schedule, and then saw that we needed to move it to a Wednesday.
Board member, any other questions? Ms. Klein,
I was going to make a motion.
I am ready. I have a motion by Ms. Klein. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Jackman. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4E. Consider designation of voting delegate and an alternate delegate to the TASA-TASB General Conference. Board members, as you're aware, come September, we do have the TASA-TASB convention here in Dallas, and we need to designate an individual to represent for the delegate assembly, someone to represent our school district, along with an alternate delegate. Therefore, do I have any volunteers? Or if you'd like to put that in the form of a motion, who you would like to designate for the delegate and the delegate backup.
I'd like to designate Randy Jack.
My second motion.
Okay.
Do one of y'all want to be his?
Is there one vote
alternate
against?
delegate?
No.
I'll take them one at a time. I have a motion by Mr. Fleming and a second, I believe, by Mr.
John
Matthews it
John
was.
Matthews.
And, well, no, I was trying to remember. For Randy Shackman to be our delegate to the 2014-2015 TASA-TASB convention. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5-4. Do we have
I'm
any
sure
opposed?
Mr. Shore sends in a vote to say no. By the way, this is the start of my second year. The hazing is supposed to be over.
You need it.
And
You'll learn a lot.
Mr. Shackman, were you abstaining?
I'll volunteer.
Very good. That motion carries. Therefore, we need an alternate.
Unanimous?
We now need an alternate.
I'd like to nominate John.
Very good. Okay.
I'd like to nominate.
I have a motion
I think I've been there. Done.
Okay.
and I have a second for Mr. Fleming. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of selecting our alternate delegate to be Mr. Fleming, please signify by raising your hand.
And I feel a cold coming
Want
on.
to vote?
I'm feeling bad. Is there a way to vote against this?
1, 2, 3. I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. For Mr. Fleming. Those opposed? But that's the easiest way to get someone selected.
Just like Mr. Jack.
Very good. I do have.
And I will vote.
Okay. We now have. That is, Ms. Scribner, that is unanimous. Very good. Thank you, too, for agreeing to participate. It's always an excellent educational process, and you will enjoy it. With that, we're going to move on to agenda item 4F. Consider endorsement of nominees to TASB Board of Directors to represent Region 10, positions A and D. Board members, we have two individuals who have signified that they would like to run for Region 10, position A. They are Debbie Gillespie from Plano and Ted Tidwell of Princeton. We have the opportunity to identify one of them that we would support, and a letter will be sent to TASB on their behalf as they select school districts to support. Do we have? That's fine.
I was just gonna ask if anybody.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Did not.
That's an excellent point. However, the challenge is there are 82 school districts in Region 10, and they would have to attend all 82 school districts. What they do, they have sent out a letter requesting our support, and they sent a document containing a bio of themselves and a letter, and et cetera, et cetera. I will make some observations, being that I've had the opportunity to be involved with this. Ted Tidwell approached me almost a year ago, stating his interest and his desire to run for TASB board. And I have kept up with him over that period of time over the last year. And he is very earnest and very willing and wanting to serve. Also, I probably need to make a clarification. 82 school districts represent Region 10. If we look at those school districts, the supermajority of those school districts are small school districts. They are not the large school districts like in the Metroplex. Ted Tidwell, being from Princeton, would be a strong supporter of small school districts who have a greater reliance upon TASB for various types of support. We in larger school districts, we're able to do things without the assistance of TASB because we have the resources to do that. Whereas small school districts are really in need of TASB support to help them. And so I have my own personal bias, and based upon being able over many years serving on that group and understanding what they do and how they support school districts.
Mr. Wood, can I make one comment? I think probably everybody in this room knows what TASB is, but they may not. And if someone is watching this or viewing it online or looking, so if you might explain just briefly what the association is, because we're using that acronym because we know what it is.
Point, good point. Texas Association of School Boards is approximately a 40-member board organization in Austin that provides services to all 1,000 plus school districts in the state of Texas. 100% of all school districts in the state of Texas are a member of the Texas Association of School Boards, including community colleges throughout the state of Texas, including some private and parochial schools are also. However, public education school districts utilize various assortments of services provided by TASB. For example, very obvious right off the bat, our TASB board book that we use for all of the information regarding a board meeting is part of a service provided by TASB. Other services that we actually use, I think our insurance for, not liability, but I think it's
Unemployment.
right.
Unemployment.
Sometimes they help us with Team of 8.
They help with Team of
and
8.
Our superintendent.
That's right.
A lot of our
Right. There are many services they provide. There's probably, I think, if I remember correctly, there's approximately like 7 or 8 specific categories of services they provide throughout all school districts in the state. And we only utilize about 4 of them. The others are those things that we do not need their services. However, they are such a tremendous resource for small school districts. Legal service is probably one of the biggest ones. They provide legal assistance to all school districts in the state of Texas. And for small school districts, this is an absolute necessity. We, for example, we do not necessarily have to use their legal services. However, small school districts are almost totally dependent upon their legal services. So that is a quick overview.
I'd
Ms.
just
Watson.
like to add that they're experts on everything. And when I go to summer leadership conventions and the TASB convention, I always look for a session that is being presented by a TASB person, because I know it's going to be factual and interesting, and it will always be given by an expert on whatever the issue is.
Very good, thank you. As I said, we need a, if you'd like, we would like to accept a motion from this board for Region 10, Position A, either Debbie Gillespie or Ted Tidwell, who we would like to endorse. Is there any individual who would like to make a recommendation or a motion?
I make a motion based on the information provided.
Do I have a second? Ms. Watson, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Mr. Fleming, I did not see your hand. All those opposed? All those abstaining? One abstention. That motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, for Region 10, Position D, that is Donald Gant of DeSoto. He's currently the incumbent. He's running for re-election. He is unopposed. However, why should we still do an endorsement? I'll give you a clarification. Once you go to the delegate assembly in September, that someone can come to TASB and make a nomination from the floor. If they make a nomination from the floor, then that candidate has as much right to serve as that incumbent who has been recommended. So in order to automatically not have an opponent, you must receive 25% of the support of the school district in your region. Therefore, even an incumbent wants to solicit support and a recommendation from the school district in our region. In other words, if Mr. Gant can get 25% of the 82 school districts to support him, he's automatically will be selected, and there are no one can run against him from the floor at the delegate assembly. That's why that is in there. Therefore, do I have a motion for Donald Gant for Region 10, Position D?
I'd like to make a motion for Donald Gant.
Do I have a second? Mr. Matthews. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Board members, we now move on to agenda item 5, comments from board members. Are there anything that we have discussed that you would like to make any comments? Mr. Matthews.
I would just like to applaud Doug Robachic for his efforts, even though not because he's one of my former boys or anything, but he truly has a passion for this school district, and he always has had, and he's now in a position with the city council that he can do something, and he is making every effort to do it, and I think it's a great idea about the signs. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Dallas, everybody in the community of the high school had a decal on the car, whether they had kids in the school or not. I mean, there was a sense of community pride. I think this sign program will just really enhance the community pride for that particular school and feeder schools for that. I really applaud him in his efforts. If you'll tell him but anyway, that's I just want to make that.
Great. Any other comments from board members? Hearing none, seeing none, we're going to move on to agenda item 6. Agenda item 6 is closed meeting. It's authorized under the Texas Government Code, but including but not limited to Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real property, 551.074, personnel matters, 551.076, security devices, 551.082, school children, district employees, disciplinary matters, or complaint. 551.0821, personally identifiable student information, and 551.084, investigation. Board members, we do have there are two areas under agenda item 6. I will read those for the record. Agenda item 6A, pursuant to paragraph section 551.071, Texas Government Code, consultation with the district's legal counsel regarding legal and procedural issues concerning a level 3 FNG parent complaint. And then the other action item, or the other item, will be item 6B, pursuant to paragraphs 551.074, 551.082, and 551.0821, Texas Government Code, hearing on level 3 FNG parent complaint and deliberations regarding same. What we are going to do, we are going to go into closed session. And we will take up first agenda item 6A, which is consultation with our legal counsel. And what we will be requesting for those individuals who are here for agenda item 6B, that is parents and other interested personnel, we ask that you wait outside the boardroom while we meet with our attorney, and then we will call you into closed session at the appropriate time. So at this time, we will recess this meeting and reconvene in open session at closed session at 8:18. We will reconvene in open session only for just a couple of minutes for an administrative matter. If you will permit me, I would like to read this. Next item on our agenda is to consider a level 3 parent-student grievance appeal pursuant to board policy FNG local. The date is August 27th, and it is now 8:43 p.m. If at any time the board is to hear a matter involving a student, the matter can be heard in either closed session unless the parent requests the matter be heard in open session. According to sections 551.082 or 551.081 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, if at any time the board is to hear a matter involving an employee, the matter also may be heard in closed session under the Texas Open Meetings Act, section 551.074. Additionally, the board may convene into closed session under the authority of section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act to consult with legal counsel. It is my understanding that an open meeting hearing has not been requested for this level 3 appeal. We will therefore move into closed session at this time to hear this legal 3 grievance appeal pursuant to sections 551.082, 551.0821, and section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. We will now close this open meeting at 8:44 p.m. Board members, we will reconvene in open session at 9:56 p.m. Is there any action that should be taken regarding matters considered in closed session? Mr. Short.
Mr. Good, first I want to tell you that I think that our district is enhanced by having people such as the Malone as part of our district community. I think we're very fortunate to have them in our community. Despite that, I move to deny the level 3 complaint, uphold the level 2 decision of administration, further move that the board deny all requested remedies not previously granted by the administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Klein. Board members, all of those in support of the motion presented by Mr. Shore, please signify by raising your hand. We have 6 voting for. Ms. Watson. Ms. Watson is abstaining. Therefore, majority has, and the motion is.
I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
To the Malones. Always try. I like the first call. Rest do not. Excuse me, Richard Fleming. Again, I do not apologize. I do apologize.
Board members, by my determination, we have reached agenda item 8, which is adjournment, and we are adjourned at 9:58 p.m.